Med school is not hard. Crazy. You must have been dreaming of being a doctor since when you were in pre-K. I wish I had studied. I wish I had not been playing around with my life and my destiny. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time, hi, my name is Charlotte Abraham, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here and for tuning in every Sunday and every week on this channel. And yes, don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe, and let's get right into today's video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about experiences I've had in med school and things you should know before you start your med school journey. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Everything I'm going to be saying today is going to be just off my head. I didn't make a list, so these are going to be real raw experiences. I didn't go Google or anything. This is just pure Shiloh's recommendation of what you should do before you say you want to become a doctor. Trust me, you should know this one. Going to med school is one of the craziest experience I feel like I've had. And to me, because I started med school super early, I was so early. Oh, oops. My makeup is just falling off my face. By the way, guys, I'm going to be doing my makeup while I'm talking to you guys about my med school experience and things I recommend you not, or things you should know before you say you want to become a doctor in any ways. And let's get right into this. First thing I would say is, trust me, if you're not sure you want to be a doctor, don't just go to med school just because you feel like that's the easiest thing you could do, or you just don't know any career path you want to go into. I just feel like, you know what, I'm smart, let me just go become a doctor. Because that's when you miss it to begin with. That first one is you have to be certain that you actually want to be a doctor before you start medical school. Before you even think of medical school, that is what you already want to do. You must have been dreaming of being a doctor since when you were in pre-K or kindergarten or primary school before you were like, you know what, actually, let's go to medical school. That's the first thing you should know. And I say that to say that because a lot of students or people I've encountered in this path of medical school, classmates, when you ask them, oh, why did you decide to come to medical school? They're like, oh, my parents forced me, or I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I just felt like, oh, medicine was super easy for me to just hop on and start doing my medical school journey or whatever. And safe to say, even me too, I'm part of those people, because I just didn't really know what else I wanted to do, especially after I was done with high school. I knew I wasn't good at physics. My physics was horrible. Math, I was okay at math. Chemistry was not one of my favorite subjects, and I liked biology. So I just felt like, you know what, I love biology. Why not just go become a doctor? You know, like crazy. So yes, I would highly recommend you doing your research, knowing that this is really what you want to do, because it's a 6-year long journey, you guys. So you have to know that you want to be committed to actually wanting to become a doctor in the future before you make this step, because it's a really huge step. You have to thoroughly think about it before you go on and start your journey. And that's the first thing I would advise. Number 2, disclaimer, these are things I wish I knew before I started med school, not advice. So you should also seek career advice and professional advice from people that are actually doctors, or maybe your school counselor or something. Not for me, but I'll still tell you to take my advice, but with a grain of salt. All right. I remember a lot of people think med school is hard. In my humble opinion, medical school is actually not hard. I don't know why people get that rhetoric a lot of times. And I say this with nuance. There's so much nuance, because school and university studying, everything looks different for every single person. So I would say med school is not hard, but it's a lot of hard work. Yes, it is a lot of hard work. You actually have to study. Anyone can become a doctor. You just have to prepare yourself and your mind that you are willing to put hundreds and hundreds of hours into studying. Then that is when I'm like, yeah, anyone can become a doctor, genuinely. So it's just a lot of studying. You don't need any specific skills, except you want to become a surgeon. Even if you want to go into surgery, you really don't need any specific skill to become a surgeon, because those are things that you can learn along the line or throughout your medical journey. So you don't need anything special about you to say, oh, I'm becoming a doctor. No, anyone could do it. So anyone that tell you, oh, you're not fit to be a doctor, don't believe that person. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a doctor, put your mind towards it and work hard towards your goal. And you, my friend, are going to become a doctor in 6 years' time. maybe not 6 years, probably like 10 years, because obviously you have residency and all of those medical things. But yes, as I was saying, it's not really hard to become a doctor. You just actually need to be someone who is willing to study, who is willing to focus and put all their mind and energy into making sure that their dreams come to pass. That is why you need to be studious, focused, and also someone who is also very strong-willed, because trust me, it gets really hard sometimes, and a lot of time you might feel like, you know what, I'm just tired, I really don't care about it anymore, I want to drop out from school. But also knowing why you're there to begin with really helps a lot, and it's also going to be one of the determining factor that pushes you to actually want to finish the journey through and through. As that's why I said to my first point, you actually have to be passionate about wanting to become a doctor or this profession or this line of profession or being in healthcare before you start, because it gets to a point when you're like, do I really want to do this? And that's reason why you started to begin with is what keeps you going. Do you get what I mean? Also one thing my sister's phone. Oh my god. My sister's phone just fell, you guys. If this phone breaks, she's gonna kill me. One thing I would also advise or suggest you do before you start your medical journey is to fully know what you want to do before you even start. Like, know where you want to go, what exams or medical licensing exams you want to write before you start. Because the thing is, you start, you're like, oh, you know, it's 6 years, I have enough time. No, baby, you don't actually have enough time. Because tell me when you're in your fourth year, fifth year, you're like, oh my god, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do with my life? And the thing is with these medical licensing exams is, the farther you are from graduation, like, okay, how do I explain this now in a proper way that sounds very coherent? The more, like, if I graduate this year, for example, and I decide to take my exam maybe in a year's time or 2 years time, the farther you take your exam from your graduation date, the less liable you are to get a residency spot or spots for residency. Doesn't mean you wouldn't, but there'll be questions, because it's like, you graduated, what were you doing after graduation? Did you do masters, or were you doing research, or were you doing this, were you doing that? What were you doing? What were your plans? And those questions are going to be asked every single time. You do need to know where you want to go. You're going to go to the US. Do you want to stay in Europe? Do you want to go back to your home country after you finish studying? Do you want to go to the UK? Do you want to go to Australia? Whatever country you want to go to practice, you need to know that before you start, so that once you're in your third year or fourth year, it's easy for you to start preparing for these exams. And especially with the American licensing exam, it's a really long process. You have your assignment step 1, step 2, step 3, and you also have to have, like, I think some English exams as well. There's just so many things that is needed that if you don't do enough research, you're just gonna be lost when all your classmates or setmates, they already know what they want to do with their life, everyone's making plans, and you're just there like, oh, I don't know where I want to go, I'm unsure, this country looks good, this country looks good. There's just so many things, and you actually don't know which one you want to go to. So that is highly advisable. By the way, you guys, I'm doing a very, very light makeup today, nothing too serious, because I'm just going, after now, I'm going ice skating, and this is my first time going.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I think I put too much. Oh my gosh, I put too much blush. You have to be kidding me, Shiloh. Also, I would also suggest you start studying early. Trust me, your GPA do matter. Is that good English? Your GPA does matter. Thank you. That's the proper grammar. Yes, your GPA does matter. Does that sound right? Do or does? Good. Why do I struggle with English? And English is my first language, mind you. As I was saying, your GPA does matter, so you do need to start studying properly from first semester. Don't be like me. I was here thinking getting C's, and I was like, you know, C is a good grade. Until I got to, I think, 6th or 5th semester, and I realized, oh, I'm actually not doing well in school. And then I had to wake up from my slumber and started studying properly to make sure I get like all A's every semester. And it's been a hell of a journey, trust me. But what I would highly advise and suggest is, from the first semester, from the first day of class, make sure you're on top of your game, because your GPA is really, really important. Apart from your GPA being important, every knowledge you're going to learn from year 1 up until year 6 or whatever year you're going to be in is so important. I trust when I mean it's so important. They're teaching you water in biochemistry, you think that's not important. You're gonna meet it later on, and then you're like, oh wow, everything just starts to come together. That leads to my next point. Meaning everything in med school comes together. You think you're doing something that's so unimportant, it's not knowledge you need to know until you get to your fifth semester or something when you're talking about pathology, pathophysiology, pharmacology, and then they're asking you questions and you remember that, oh, this is something that you did in biochemistry or molecular biology some semesters ago, and you realize, I wish I had studied. I wish I had not been playing around with my life and my destiny and just focus on the game and study it properly to make sure that you actually remember these things as you go on. Because trust me, when you get to writing USMLE step one, you're gonna know you have to go back to read every single thing. So it's highly advisable if you have a very strong foundation already in your basic sciences so that you don't have to struggle. Forget about even medical licensing exams. Once you start doing your clinical rotations, you also need basic science knowledge, because if they're asking you questions, let's say diabetes, for example, let's use diabetes as an example. If you don't know the hormones that cause diabetes, or not necessarily cause diabetes, the lack of those certain hormones in the body that leads to insufficiency, like the insufficiency of those hormones, you obviously don't know like what's wrong to begin with. If you don't know the body organ that leads to that certain insufficiency, that is your anatomy. And if you don't know what cells in that specific organ that is being attacked or that is having issues, that is your histology. And if you don't know how everything is working together chemically and electrically, everything, that is physiology for you. So you need to know. If you don't know that, oh, lack of insulin is what's causing diabetes and specific type of diabetes, or maybe the interaction between insulin and glucagon, how those things function together, that is basic biochemistry now. You're talking about biochemistry. And you actually don't know how those things are working together. How are you going to try to diagnose drugs for your patient or trying to figure out what the problem is? And also, like, it's just like everything just comes together. I feel like I'm explaining so many things right now that do not make any sense to you, but all I'm trying to say is everything comes together. If you know that, oh, it's the pancreas that's having issues when a patient comes with or presenting with diabetes, how would you solve the issue? If you know that, okay, maybe it's the B cells in the pancreas or so and so cells in the pancreas, do you see where I'm coming from? Like, everything is all together. And the moment you start to realize this, it's not in your first year, it's not in your second year, sorry, it's your second year, maybe third year, you start to realize that, oh, you know what, that biochemistry I learned the first semester, oh, this is what it means, or this is, something like that. Like, same thing when you could talk about cardiology as well, like the heart. If you don't know the electrical system or the SA nodes, your AV nodes, all those things, and you're having heart failure, right-sided heart failure, you don't know, oh, the normal physiology of the heart, how the heart normally functions, then how are you going to solve the pathology if you don't know how the heart already functions to begin with? Do you get what I mean? I feel like now I'm rambling at this point in time, but that is what I'm trying to say. Your basics and basic science are so much more important, and as much as it is important, you need to have a really good and strong foundation in your basics. I can't emphasize this enough because I have seen a lot with my eyes because I was so unserious within my first year and second year. By the time I got to third year, everything was beginning to become much more difficult for me, which wasn't what I expected. So yes, please study. And also, oh God, this is the next point. All right, my fourth point is find a study method first semester, or maybe if you're still in high school, just know how to study. Try to know or find a study method that works for you and stick with that study method, trust me, because you're going to get into med school, right? First semester, you go online and you're checking videos, oh, how to study, and everyone's saying, oh, use Anki flashcards, watch videos, do this. There's so many materials online that people suggest or recommend that you use, but my highest suggestion is early on in your medical school, try finding a method that works for you and stick to it, because you're going to try every single thing. I've tried every single study method. There's nothing that has not been recommended to me and it wasn't up until this semester I realized I know what works best for me. Me watching a video, or maybe when I go to attend my lecture, paying attention in that lecture helps me easier to understand. I can't read a book and understand. It's really difficult for me to assimilate what I read. I have to read. But when someone is explaining to me what is inside that said book, it's just so easy for me to grasp whatever it is, and that's just how I realized, oh, you know, this is my perfect study method. And also being able to explain to someone what I understand means to me that, oh, you know what, I fully understood the topic or the material being given to me. So you actually have to find the study method for you. Flashcards did not work for me. I tried using Anki flashcard. I made Anki flashcards. Sadly, it didn't work for me. That was not my strong forte or fort. I don't know how you pronounce that. And yeah, when I realized that early on, it just made my life much more easier. I didn't realize it early on, but obviously I realized it recently, and it made my study process much more easier and less complicated, because it doesn't look like, oh, it's me against the world. You know, I know what I'm doing. I know notes I'm highlighting, things like that. Some people, writing helps them. Writing doesn't really help me because I feel like it's a waste of time. Time I'm using to write every single thing that's in my textbook, I can use that to study and actually assimilate that type of writing or whatever material, basically. So I think active learning works more for me compared to the other study methods they are out there. So I highly suggest find what study method works for you and stick to it 100%. Also, med school is actually not boring, although it can be very stressful and strenuous. It's actually not boring. A lot of people complain about, you know, there's nothing to do, yada yada yada. You can actually still be a medical student and have fun, you know, but obviously you have to do everything on, what's the word,
when I forget things, when I'm trying to sound so inspirational and motivational, I actually just forget things I actually want to say. Like, my mind is so busy. I think about so many things just in 1 minute. I forget what I actually want to say. What's the word? I can't think of
balance. That's the word I was looking for. Can you imagine my brain forgetting the word balance? As I was saying, you have to do everything with balance and do everything with moderation. So don't overspend your time having fun and forgetting that, oh, you have your books to study. Don't do that. Please don't do that. I don't recommend you doing that. So studying a lot, but also having time to play, do your fun things, or things that just make you not feel like a robot. Another thing I would highly recommend is don't beat yourself up about tests that you fail or exams you don't do well on. Doesn't mean you should now not read your book, because that's not what I'm saying. Please don't listen to what you're not hearing, or don't put words into my mouth. All I'm saying is, when you fail or you feel like you didn't perform your best on the test, don't beat yourself so much, because the time wasted on you hammering on, oh, I didn't do well, I should have done that, you can use that time to improve and do better and study better for your next quiz or your next test or your next exam. So really try not to be that kind of person that dwells on failure, because that can suck you in. You can just become that person that you just have this so much anxiety and you lose focus on things that are much more important, because you're just so anxious on what you've not done or what you couldn't do, instead of focusing on what you can do and how you can improve and how you can be better. So failure can, I know it's really hard, but you really have to work on yourself, your mentality and your mindset, to make sure that you really try to not let it get to you. It's not easy. Trust me, there are days that are really hard, really difficult. You feel like you're the dumbest person in the world, you shouldn't have done this to begin with, medicine is not your calling, all those things. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I've not seen the light yet because I'm not yet graduated, but but trust me, one day you're gonna see it's all going to pay off. And yes, in as much as med school can be difficult, and it is most definitely difficult, but I know you could do it, so that is why you're here. And one thing I would highly suggest is having a community around you, because a lot of time, especially if you're studying abroad, it can get lonely. When I mean lonely, I really mean it. It can really get lonely, and because of the amount of mental stress you're going through just by going to medical school alone, you need a community of good friends around you, good relationships around you. And I'm not saying romantic relationships or things like that. No, that is the wrong list of your worries at this point in time in your life, because you're in medical school and you should focus on your studies and your books. But even if you're going to indulge in that, still have a good community of friends, because that is so important. You need people that days you feel down, the days you feel sad, that will come and drag you out of your room and your house and be like, come on, let's go out, let's cheer you up, let's make sure you're doing well. or people that are gonna be like, how are you struggling? How can I help? How can I be there for you? People that are gonna show up for you countless and countless of time. You need to find those people. One thing I would also let you know is that the whole idea of waking up by 5 a.m. or having a perfect routine does not exist. And don't get drowned or drenched in the fact that you feel like you're not being productive because you scroll on TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube and you see other medical students study for 12 hours, study for 6 hours, 18 hours, waking up by 5 a.m., yada, yada, yada. Trust me, it can't be like that every single day. You're going to burn out. So one thing I highly suggest is you find your own routine, something that works for you and something that you know fully well that your body is responding well to. And don't try to be the one that wakes up by 5 a.m., 4 a.m., go to the gym, come back, make breakfast, yada, yada. That is very unrealistic. So find something that works for you and keep up with that. You know, you might be someone that's a night person, meaning that you study better at nights, so you might just not be a morning person, and that's fine. You might be someone that's a morning person, you wake up super early, that's when you feel the most productive, and that's also okay. And if you're someone that feel the most productive during the nighttime, that is also okay. Just make what works for you. So don't feel like you're any less of a medical student or any less of a serious medical student or someone that wants to be a doctor and you don't have this high level or high sense of productivity. It doesn't work like that. So as I said, I'm trying to reiterate what I said. Figure out what works for you and stick to that. One thing I would also suggest is that you find hobbies outside of being a medical student. A lot of people make being a medical student their personality, and that irks me a lot. It disgusts me because, like, okay, you're a medical student, we know you want to be a doctor. What else is there to you? So find things outside of medical school and the idea of being a doctor that makes you a much more interesting person to be around with. You know, not every single person wants to hear you talk about anatomy, physiology, and whatever, or oh my god, half pharmacology is so hard, pathology is so hard. Yeah, I mean, those things are hard, but I think there should be other things you should be willing to speak about with friends, family, or acquaintances when you see them or speak to them, or when you hang out with those people, than just the fact that, oh, you're a medical student. All right, gorgeous people, I know this girl here said she's going for a simple eye makeup look, but plans changed and this is what we have on. Definitely not a simple eye makeup look. And yes, we're finally done with the makeup. Just spray this face down and we're done. Perfection as always. And by the way, guys, as I said earlier, even if I gave you a jump scare at the start of this video, oh my god, I used my spray thing to wet my whole shirt. That's besides the point. But as I said earlier, even if the beginning of this video was a bit jump scary, don't forget, if you really want to chase your dream, you got this, go for it. But still take all I said into consideration. I have so much more things I've learned in the how many years I've been in med school now. But if you want more or a part 2 of this video, just don't forget to let me know down in the comments down below. And also, if you're also a medical student watching this, let me know things you've learned during the course of your med school journey and how med school has been for you and what year you're in. If you've graduated, I just want to know, you know, let me meet and connect with fellow aspiring doctors or doctors already. Yes. And yeah, I would also love to hear from maybe doctors that are already, you know, doctors working as a doctor, tips and tricks and things that helped you during medical school. And also, if you agree with me on some of the things I said and things you don't also agree with, let me know down in the comments. I would love to interact with you guys and hear from you guys even more. Yes, now I'm running late to my ice skating thingy I have right now, so I have to book my taxi and get there quickly as soon as possible. So that's what we're gonna do now. But yes, don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe, share to your friends and family, and also people or friends that you think would be why am I forgetting words? And also people you think are going to come to medical school, or friends of yours that want to come to medical school and want to have more information or things to expect. Don't forget to share them my video and share. Yes, don't forget to follow me on my social media platforms at @ecans, Instagram, Substack, Pinterest, TikTok, everywhere. I'm all over social media at @ecans. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys in the next week's video. As I said earlier, if you have any questions or anything you want to ask or anything you want me to clarify for you, just let me know down in the comments down below. Subscribe, like the video, and yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in next week's video. next week Sunday. Love you.